for an analysis, let's turn to Bruce Fein. He is a lawyer in constitutional, international, civil rights and government regulatory law. Thanks very much for joining us today. Now, the hostility of Israeli officials is not all that surprising, especially given it comes off the back of the accusations of genocide by the International Court of Justice. But what about US and European reaction?
I think we're dealing with political reactions. Remember, law turns on evidence. I doubt whether all the politicians who are speaking have even read the Rome Statute defining what a war crime is or what is a crime against humanity. They obviously haven't had a chance to examine the evidence. So they're stating what they believe is politically advantageous, whether that calculation is correct or incorrect. And if you take the United States, for example, we're celebrating the International Criminal Court when it indicted Vladimir Putin for crimes against humanity and taking Ukrainian children and bringing them for immersion into Russian culture. And then suddenly the International Criminal Court becomes the nemesis of the United States, and then it's become immediately corrupt because we didn't condemn the ICC chief prosecutor for filing for arrest warrants against Hamas leaders, but only against Israel. So these are political decisions. They're not really based upon law. And I deplore the United States hypocrisy. We, on the one hand, say we're in favor of a rule-based international order, but the only rules we follow are the ones that we make for ourselves.
So you're saying basically that the only difference here is that the players and the politics are different, that Russia is an adversary of the West and Israel is an ally.
That is correct. I don't know whether I would say necessarily Israel is an ally. They spy on lots of people, including in the United States, but we purport to treat them as an ally because most of the time they're aligned with our interests rather than the Arab states, but not always. We are very, very closely aligned with Saudi Arabia with weapons and letting them assassinate Jamal Khashoggi with impunity because they want to keep gasoline prices down, and in exchange we sell them weapons. It's a very cynical game, unfortunately, in the international world, but we're describing reality, not what ought to be.
Talk about the process of the ICC issuing warrants of this nature and the value if they're actually unlikely to be executed anytime soon. And, is Israel and Hamas's domestic judiciary capable of and willing to hold senior leaders to account even?
Well, we don't know at present because politics can change. But with regard to process, the way the ICC works is that if the chief prosecutor has reasonable cause to believe that certain persons are culpable for crimes against humanity, war crimes, or genocide, the chief prosecutor can apply to a 3-judge panel to seek actually the issuance of a warrant, which would then obligate all the members of the ICC to arrest and to return to the custody of the ICC the individual named in the warrant. Now, how often are these warrants actually exercised? Because the ICC doesn't have parachutes, they don't have air troopers, they don't have ground troops, they don't have any military arm, they don't have any police force. So they rely upon members and the nation states to cooperate. And you can imagine, for example, if you look at Putin, is he going to cooperate and permit anyone to come and arrest him? Of course not. And nobody is going to go in there who's even a lesser sort and risk a war with Russia over a war crime, crimes against humanity.
Yeah.
And I think we can say with reasonably high confidence that unless the politics changes, these are paper documents that are not going to be executed. It doesn't mean it may not have an influence on public opinion. But you can imagine the difficulty in trying to gather evidence in Gaza with Israel militarily occupying it.
Yeah.
Any investigator is likely to be killed. So it kind of stops the legal process in its tracks. Now, there have been occasional cases where the ICC has actually gotten custody of individuals, largely African leaders, and there are a handful of convictions, not many. And that's because the countries that they've addressed are politically weak and cannot defend themselves. But international tribunals, when it comes to strong countries, are simply paper tigers. The military strength and political strength stands for far more than law.
It certainly will make leaders like Netanyahu difficult to travel. I believe Norway has announced that it will arrest Netanyahu if he enters their country. So we'll keep up to date on that. Really appreciate your insight there. Bruce Fein for us. Thank you.
Thank you.